when I open the New York Times on my Kindle, I usually go first to obituaries. Um, I don't think I'm morbid, but I do find that they are well written and lay out the lives of very interesting people. That happened to me about 10, 12 days ago when the obituary for Stan Musial, the outfielder and great hitter for the St. Louis Cardinals, appeared. He died at the age of 92. He was a great hitter, held records for homers, triples, doubles, was MVP several times. An interesting point in the obituary was that when he retired from the Cardinals, he and a friend, a long-term friend, opened a restaurant, Stan and Biggie's. Musial provided the money and the publicity, and Biggie, a long-term friend, provided the knowledge about restaurants, opening them and making them a success. When I read that, it clicked a point in my memory, which was a very happy one. When we moved to Houston in 1949, we knew one person that was a doctor who had been a resident with me at the VA in New Orleans. But we rapidly made friends. The group needed friends to find its way around Houston. Most of us knew doctors after a while and their wives, and became a strong social group. I had to find office space if I was going to get into practice. I, like others, wanted to be in the medical center. The medical center was rapidly growing. It was going to have hospitals and Baylor College of Medicine and university sites. But the only place for officers, for doctors, was a Herman Professional Building. Been a building for doctors and professionals for a long time, and it had a long waiting list. I was told not to bother going there and talking about office space, but I naturally had to figure out for myself. I soon found out that the information was true. There was no space, and if I put my name on the list, it would be several years before I could expect any chance for space. So I stayed way down in Midtown. It was near the old Methodist. But if I was going to be up to date with medical practice, I had to go to Baylor in the medical center for conferences and grand rounds. I had to see my patients in the hospitals, which meant running back and forth from the medical center to my office. That was a grand pain, but there wasn't much to do about it. Then one evening, I think probably in 1954, the phone rang. The voice said, "Dan, this is Ed Horry. I'm going to be called up for service at Fort Leavenworth, Missouri. That's going to be 2 years. And I hate to give up my lease at the Herman Professional Building. Would you like to move in and hold that space for me? And maybe when I come back, we can work out something." So at that moment, there were two wonderful messages. I was going to have office space in the medical center, and maybe I was going to have someone in the office with me. That would make it much more comfortable. I like to compare information with another physician and so on. So I accepted. Ed and his family moved off to Fort Leavenworth, and I moved into the Herman Professional Building. It was only space for one doctor, but I took my nurse, and we soon had things going. Slowly, of course, because I was just beginning practice. But I enjoyed the space. I was near the hospitals. I was near Methodist Hospital, where I did most of my patients, and it was near Baylor. Sometime in my first year of practice, I got a message that a developer was building a medical building in the center. It was going to be called Medical Towers. Of course, I was interested, and I met with the developer, and we laid out space for Ed and myself, and then room for other doctors that we might want to take in to associate with us. With the plans in hand, I called Ed and said, "How about I come to St. Louis and we'll go over the plans and talk a little bit more about the future?" Ed said fine, so I went up to St. Louis, and we had dinner one evening at Stan and Biggie's. Great steaks, great conversation about office space and medical towers, and we had little disagreement, so it was obvious we got along well. Ed came back to Houston at the end of 2 years. We took up space in his office in the Herman Professional Building. There were two of us in space for one doctor, but he was not busy, I was not busy, and our personalities were such that we never had any argument about any item whatsoever. We moved from there to the medical towers, continued to have a great relationship. We did not consider ourselves associates, but we had our own practices, but we got along great well. Such were the memories and good times brought around by the obituary of Stan Musial.